When it came to dance life, Erin Gaw was probably the only one that really didn't care what anyone had to think about them. When she didn't get into Jazz 1, she was peeved and you knew about it. And I think that is awesome to watch. It's great television because everyone can't just be nice. You know, when you watch those big shows like X Factor, Australian Idol and all that stuff, and people are like, oh, you've won, and oh, I've won. I'm just so sad for the person that didn't win. Oh, thank you so much. Oh. And it's like, come on, man. You just won. Why are you crying for the person next to you? Like, I get it, you're friends, but you won. Like, own that. On the flip side, when you don't win, everyone's like, oh, I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much. And we're very trained to be polite, and I get that. But Erin, no, she's like, I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm not happy, Jan. Okay. That was a lot of fun. I got to tell you, made great television. She's got a lot of personality. I do love Erin. I love her business sensibility. She's not just about dance. She's also really interested in behind the scenes. We get to unpack that in this discussion, in this chat, which is really, really cool. I also love how we talked about the fortune that, like what happened on the show, the fortune that came from her friend's misfortune and what that actually meant in real life. And we talk about that experience as well. She's doing well, and she's going to share with you exactly what she's been up to. She's working professionally now. She's also studying at university. She's got big dreams and a big life ahead of her. And the way she defines success, being a young emerging artist, is different to what most artists define success as. So I absolutely love that. Which we are going to talk about in the show. So without further ado, here is the lovely Erin. Let's kick it off. Hello and welcome to Studio Biz and All That Jazz. I'm your performing arts business coach and host, Josephine Lancuba. This show is designed to bring you inspiration, information, and the instruments you need to create and grow the studio biz of your dreams. I will bring you a mix of solo episodes as well as interviews where I tap into the minds of industry experts. My career started as a performer over 2 decades ago. I later became a speaker, theatrical producer, and talent manager, as well as having a successful teaching career in singing, drama, and dance. 10 years into my professional journey, I became a mama of 2 and with a baby on my hip, opened up my very own performing arts studio. From hardship and humble beginnings to 4 studio locations and a multi-6-figure performing arts biz, I know how to attract students and keep them coming back for more. And in the show, I will share with you my experiences to help you thrive and fast-track your path to success. I know you have a spark inside of you with dreams and goals for the future. As your coach and mentor, I'm here to help you step into your limelight and be a cheerleader in your ear each and every week. So get ready to be entertained and inspired as we talk studio biz and all that jazz. I would love to say a big welcome to Erin Gaw from Dance Life. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on board. How are you?
I am so good, and I'm so excited because I'm a fan, as we know from everyone listening, who's listened to the first few episodes of this little bonus series. I'm a bit of a fan of Dance Life. I totally binged it. I just love anything on Australian television or global television that celebrates or just gives an insight into what we do in the arts. And I actually spoke to the executive producer, Jade Barnes, who also did an episode here on the show. And I said, I want you to get me in touch with Erin. I want her on my show. Do you know why? There were so many beautiful characters, and I call you characters because you are on a television show, even though it's really you, right? There were so many beautiful characters on the show, but I just liked that you were honest. And I think sometimes when there are cameras in your face, and I've done reality TV and all that sort of stuff, and I know it's not reality TV, it's a docuseries, whatever, but it feels like a reality television show. It can feel hard to be yourself. And I loved that you were, what I think anyway, from what I saw, you were honest. And that was a bit of a breath of fresh air. So I'm like, got to get Erin on the show. And we're going to talk about that honesty in just a sec. Before we get into all the juicy dance life stuff, because I love that, I want to talk about you and who you are, a little bit about your background and maybe how dance became an important part of your life. So where does your journey start? Like, where are you from? Tell us a little bit about
Okay. Yeah. So I actually was born in England, in Hemel Hempstead. So yeah, I stayed there till I was about 1.5, and my mum, dad, and my two older sisters were born there. No, my two older sisters were born there also, and then my parents met in England, and then we moved to Australia when I was 1.5. And then we came straight to the Northern Beaches and have kind of been here since, I guess. In terms of dancing, my sister, she was dancing. So she went to a little studio in Brookvale. And then I kind of joined and did like tiny tots and then ended up quitting and doing swimming. My parents gave me a choice. So I was like, I just felt like doing swimming. And then from there, pardon?
I love that so much. And I got to say, you were in the Northern Beaches of Sydney, yes? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I am too.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh, wow, awesome.
Oh, what the heck?
That's so cool. Love that. Yeah,
I'm like, Brookvale, Jesus. Okay, great. Okay, keep going. Okay,
yes.
So swimming, continue.
Yeah, I did swimming, and I like when me and my siblings were younger, we did a lot of sports. So we were juggling netball, athletics, dancing. So it got to the point where I was about, I think it was like I was 7 or 8 years old. I came back to dancing, and I was just dabbling in recreational. And I had a choice whether it was netball, athletics, or dancing, and then I chose dancing. My sister previously chose it like a couple of years before that, like she was going to just do dancing, and then I chose dancing, and then from there onwards, dancing was the only thing really. I still like tried as hard as I could in academics at school, but dancing was the main goal for the rest of the couple of my teenage years. Yeah.
Okay, and so it's really interesting actually because this show is predominantly listened to by teachers and studio owners. And I find it really interesting that you chose swimming and then came back to it 7 or 8, because it's often something that people struggle with as business owners and studios, going, oh, why do they choose swimming over this and netball over that? And I find it really cool that you came back at 7 or 8 and you're like, yeah, I want to do this. Why did you change your mind? So why the shift from, and I know you were young, but if you can think back to it as a young person, that sport factor versus the creative factor, what was that real click for you that was like, no, I'd rather do the creative side?
I found with netball and athletics, I got very nervous and it was very stressful. And it was kind of like a right or wrong, like you either win or you don't win, you win or you lose. But with dancing, I found that there was so many different avenues. It was more creative, and I felt like I could express myself more in that avenue. And like since I was younger, I was very like outgoing performative person, so it was suited to me. And yeah, I found like even the people I was with at my studio or my dance teachers, I felt like where I belonged. Like although I loved netball and athletics, it felt just at home. And yeah.
I find that interesting, that perspective on win or lose. Like that is so true. And dance can be considered a sport in its own right, but there is a win or lose perspective when it comes to actual athletic sport versus dance, which, you can be interpretive or whatever. And
exactly.
I find that really interesting, actually, that perspective. Now, when did you decide, okay, I'm packing my things and I'm going to go for the big time? I'm going to make it as a professional performing artist. When did that moment click for you?
I would say it would be when I was in year 9. I did like school spectacular, and it was like, do you know?
Oh yeah, I know school.
Yeah, okay. Some people.
But for anyone listening at home, what is school spectacular?
So it's like it's kind of like a concert for all of the public schools in New South Wales, and they come together and do performances. So there's like selective dance groups, and then there's primary school groups, senior, like high school groups, and then there's also singers from the public school. So it's like a massive concert, but all for public schools. So I auditioned for that, and I got into the like hip hop urban dance crew. And that was by Neil Whitaker and Pete Eben. So I did that, and I met a couple of people who were from Brent Street. And they were in the ensemble as well. So it was like 10 of us in it. And my sister had just moved to Brent Street at the time. So I was still at my other studio, and I was like debating whether or not I should do it. And as soon as I met them, and just the energy they had, and that like just how they spoke about Brent Street and how happy they were, it really just, it made me push. And then next year I was at Brent Street in year 10 because I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And I saw them at a competition like that year, and I went and saw like a couple of my friends from Urban Dance Crew, and I was like, that's where I'm meant to be. And yeah, so from then onwards I went to Brent Street, and then I loved it. And I've always known that I've wanted to like be on stage or performing in some sort, but yeah, when I came to Brent Street I really realized that dancing is what I want to do.
I love that. And take me to, okay, so you're in Brent Street, you're going into full time, and then all of a sudden there's a camera crew. Because that's how fast life happens, right?
Yeah.
It's like 1 minute you're there, and the next minute you're on a television show.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that came about. So how did you find out about dance life? And because there must be a process when it comes to who the featured people are of the show, because I imagine in a studio, a full-time in studio course environment, there may be hundreds of people in the building. Why did they choose you? Like, did they actually go through a process with you in relation to that?
Yeah, so the process, like, so it started off before we started the full-time year. So I think it was like a month or so before we started in January or February. And they did a massive Zoom. So it was Luke and Jade, and we had never, like, some people had heard of them before, but like I had never heard of them. And they were telling us about how they were wanting to film this dance docu-series. They didn't really have that much like details as to what we have now. So they didn't know it was called Dance Life. Prime wasn't included. It was kind of like a trial and error. And then they got everyone to send in like 5-minute videos describing themselves. And they said that from that, they would choose like a couple of people to follow throughout the year. And then I didn't actually get chosen.
Wow.
So yeah, so I can't remember, like I still have my video, but they chose, I think at the beginning they chose like Max Simmons, Max Osler, Emily, and Tiana, and maybe Kim, I'm not too sure. But through like when the year went onwards and they started like not getting to know us, that's when I got chosen. So I got chosen like I would say maybe like halfway through term one. Like it wasn't straight away, and I guess because we're like most of us are in the same group, so they were hanging around us often, and then they got to know us, and then from there onwards the rest is history. But yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you were blunt and honest about your experience, because sometimes people, and that actually connects to an audience. That's what I found as a viewer. I think sometimes, because we can be shocked when you say things like, that's BS, like that's bullshit that I didn't get chosen. That's bullshit, right? Yeah. Most people won't say that, even if they think it, but we all think it. You know, we all think it. If we know we're good at something and we're like, what the actual, know, like, get real. And I love that you did that, because some people might see that as, oh, that's confronting. But then other people are like, you know what? That's how humans are. And we are peeved. Just for those that haven't seen the show, I want to take us to that moment. And I know you filmed this quite a time ago, but it's one of the real moments of the show in season 1. And so for those that haven't watched Dance Life, listen up, check it out. It's on Prime. If you have watched it, you'll know the scene I'm talking about. But okay, there's this thing with Jazz One, right? And it's all about Jazz One. You got to get in Jazz One, which is basically the top tier jazz group, right? Is that what that is?
Yes, the top 30 students of the year.
Great, top 30 students of the year. Big deal within these full-time walls. Now, it's make or break. Everyone wants Jazz One. You don't make it into Jazz One.
Nope.
No, you don't. Tell us what happened.
Well, I mean, I think back to the audition process and when we were actually doing the grading. So gradings where they like put you in the classes 1, 2, or 3. And I think about like I was watching like those little clips of me, because at that time also I a featured member. So they had like the little clips of me because Emily was featured, and I was watching going, oh my gosh, like I just like it wasn't like I could just tell I was so like just like pulled back and like reserved and like I don't know, just not my full self, I would say. Like further on in the show, like you see me come out and like show like who I actually am. But in there, I think maybe because we just had the 6 week holidays and I was just a bit like not really like in it, I would say. So when we did get the grading and I found out, I was like, what? Like this is so like not right. But now watching the video, I'm like, oh, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like I wasn't performing to my full potential at that point, I believe, which ultimately led me to being in Just True.
Yeah, but you expressed your real emotions there. But then what happens next? You tell me about basically the fortune that came from a friend's misfortune. And you are friends, good friends with
Yeah,
Kim.
really good friends. Yeah.
So it's not anything against Kim, but there was an incident. Do you want to talk us through what happened there?
Yeah. So long story short, we were creating a piece, a 10-minute piece that was performed at a showcase called Light the Way, where all the full-time dance schools come together and they do a performance. And in the performance, Cassie had chosen like specific people to like feature throughout the 10-minute piece. And Kim was given a piece in like I think it was like all of the girls in it. So Kim was meant to run across and like do a little thing. And then for the first like 3 days of rehearsals, she wasn't there. I think the first one, like she had double booked herself, so she was doing something else, and the other two, she actually got sick. But at the time, we didn't really know that because like we weren't really getting that much information. So Cassie ended up giving that bit to me. And some could be like, ooh, like that's like I don't know. There was people thought there was drama there, but honestly, there wasn't. Like she completely understood and like 100% she's going to be upset, and I like got that, and I was really respectful of her, and I didn't like try and rub it in her face or anything like that. But yeah, because we were so close at the time, it was fine. Like we were both put into jazz too, and she kind of like, although there's always going to be tension if someone's taking something that you really wanted in that opportunity. But we were kind of like it kind of was like a good moment for both of us. And yeah, like that from that moment I did that bit in the Light the Way piece, and then I was seen by agents at Light the Way, and that's how I now am signed with an agency. So yeah, it kind of like worked for both of us, and like although Kim didn't have that moment, she's working doing so many jobs now, so it worked out for the best of both of us, I would say. Yeah,
It's interesting because that one moment where someone didn't show up, and for potentially very good reasons, right? It's
yeah,
not that,
yeah,
but that's the industry, and it's just the way it is. I mean, if you're not there, you're not there.
yeah,
So
exactly, yeah,
that's the way it goes. And from that one moment, an opportunity that got picked up, again, a fortune that came from a friend's misfortune. At the time, you now have an agent and you were seen and you got the bits and it all worked out for you, right?
yeah.
So I just find that really, really interesting. But I do remember this time I had a friend who was working on set, and he was late. He was late a couple of times, and then one day he rocked up late on set, and he was like an extra, like not an extra, but like a dancer in a bit for some
Yep.
television show, wearing some suit, who knows. And good gig though, television series gig. And he just was fired and replaced when he showed up one day. Like, dude, you're just late. Like, that's it. If you don't
Yeah,
show up, you're replaced. And he just couldn't believe it. It's like, oh my God, I've been replaced. It's like, yeah, dude, you weren't there.
yeah.
So, I think it's a hard lesson to learn. But I think it's an important one. And I found that interesting. And I think again, that was one of the reasons why the audience connected with you so much. Let's talk about that. So have you had much contact with the general public? Like, do people reach out to you? Does anyone have comments? Like, how did that fall, that whole thing for you as well? Was there any negativity online or was it positive? Like, how did it go?
So yeah, I would say like 95% were positive. Like I was getting a lot of messages, like people being like, I love your energy, like I love how honest you are, like all of the above, and like I love the way you perform, and like just all of those types of things. But I think I've got like one or two like very, very minor where I think someone was just like you owed too much. Like that was one of them, I think. But like I haven't gotten really any intense like negativity, I guess. Yeah. But
Oh my God.
most have been like quite positive and just like I feel like I've gotten a few where they're like, I have a friend that is exactly the same as you, like this is insane. Like there's a lot of those like types of like I've told my friend to watch the show because she's identical, like like all of those types of things. But yeah, most of the time it's been like quite positive, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, cool. What about full-time dance programs and that sort of reputation that they have? I suppose they can be really tough at times. Like the show's pretty cutthroat, I got to say. Like it's a real insight into not all courses of course, but some of them, and Brent Street in particular. It seems quite tough. Tell me about that. Like, what's that like? Is it as hardcore as it seems? And what does that actually feel like being in the space?
To be honest, like when watching it, like I watched it with a group of my like school friends and they were like, oh my God. But it doesn't feel like that at the time. Like it just feels normal. Like if Cassie's gonna say this or that, or like that's wrong or this, that it doesn't even go past you. Like obviously there are times where it's really hard. Like you wake up in the morning and you don't want to go in and it's tough. And then like it's mentally and physically draining. But in terms of like the intensity and hardcore, it's actually not as intense as you think. Maybe as a dancer, I would say, because we're so used to constant like criticism and feedback. Yeah, it wasn't like, even when I was watching it, I was going, wow, it's not actually like it's actually really intense, but you don't realize it at the time because there are so many fun bits like in between. So it kind of like weighs out, I guess. Like I don't know, it's just not as bad as you
Doesn't feel
think.
that way. And it could be also that dancers, much like athletes, build a resilience to certain elements.
Yeah.
So you've got this resilience factor where you're like, I can take it, I can take it, I can take it, I can take it. I mean, we saw even like I've interviewed Tiana, who's wonderful, but she went through that whole injury process and was still showing up and sort of half dancing on the side. And there's this resilience, this total resilience that keeps flowing through. Don't go anywhere because I have a super quick and exciting announcement to make. Introducing Studio BIZ Summit. This is an event celebrating International Dance Day, so studio owners get ready to feel supported with an incredible lineup of dance and studio biz industry mentors. Studio BIZ Summit is an online experience designed to help you create a thriving studio business that is aligned to you and your goals. Join us. We have 6 guest industry experts that are going to be presenting on the day via virtual masterclasses, including Jane Gretsch, Kerry Power-Drabick, Christine Denny, Jen Dalton, Sally Prendergast, and myself, Josephine Lancuba. We're going to be covering everything on how you can make more money in your studio biz, marketing, staff, procedures, student attraction, student retention, how to create a professional performance company, innovative marketing techniques, mindset approaches, and so much more. And for only $27, yep, totally crazy, super amazing value, you will experience this. Plus, you receive the recording of the event too. It's a no-brainer. Book now. Head to the link in the show notes. That's josephinelancuba.com/summit. Happening this International Dance Day. Don't miss out. Do you think that the way you train and that hardcore sort of nature of that, which is the way it is, regardless of perception or whatever, like when you watch it back, you can say, oh, okay, there is
definitely. Yeah.
Do you think now that you're in the real world, and I call it the real world because it's post-graduation, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's a true indication of the industry? Or
Like,
is that the training that's necessary to get you ready for what? For what does this industry look like to you? Is it full of rejection and hardcore and you gotta step in when someone drops down? Like it seems really hardcore, right? But is it like that?
I mean, to an extent, yes, like rejection is definitely there. Like you go to a musical theater audition and then you just cut. Like you don't get a reason, you don't get an answer. It's just like the list of names are called and you're either a yes or a no. And sometimes you don't even get an audition. Like you'll submit for a musical and then you don't even get an audition and there's no answer. There's just, you didn't get an audition. So yeah, definitely there are those like big senses of rejection in the industry, but I feel like some people have different avenues. Like you don't have to do the full-time course to then build you for like professional dance. Like there's a lot of other ways that like people don't just do full-time dance. I think like some people freelance, some people just go straight into the industry, some people go through acting and then come through. So yeah, I would say definitely those hard like the hardship and all that intensity is in the industry, but it's just in different ways. And I would say it's a little bit more discreet. It's not so in your face. It's very like just a bit like taboo, like you don't like it's not really spoken about, I guess. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's taboo and not spoken about, those hardships?
Well, I feel like though that's just like what the like that's just what dancing is. You either get the job or you don't. Like there's not really like the choreographer's not going to be like, Erin, the reason why you didn't get it is because of this. You just like that's just how it is. Like, and when I don't get a job or I don't get through an audition, I'm just like, cool. Like that's like it's just not what's meant for me at this moment in time. So maybe not taboo, but I guess it's just like not as deep as it was in full time. Yeah.
Do you think that full-time prepares you for the real world? Like, are there elements where you go, I wish someone really told me about that? Like, for example, I'm a performing arts business coach, and sometimes I think that full-time lacks education in the business of arts. So like how to do your taxes, being a contractor and getting an ABN and what that actually means. Do you think, so yes, there's a preparation for the actual creative side. Do you think that there's preparation in all aspects, or what do you think that full-time courses could probably be, more of or lacking in or whatever? I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, so we did like maybe like one or two lessons with a lady who like spoke to us about like taxes and stuff like that, but we didn't really go in depth. Like that's something I would definitely say that it should be in the courses, like ABN, like working with children to check, all of the above should definitely be more included, like weekly, I would say, just because there's been times where like me, like even emails, writing emails, it sounds so simple, but like some people like you just don't know how to write an email professionally. So those aspects definitely, yeah, I feel like we could have done a bit more of. Yeah, what was the other
Yeah,
part
I
of the
feel like that's actually a really good point. I never thought of the emailing, the way you communicate professionally.
yeah.
You can't assume everything, hey. Even just, how to actually create an invoice. Because
Yeah.
I've actually hired, because I'm a studio and I'm also a talent manager. I've had artists, invoice me, blah, blah, blah. And the amount of times I've had a graduate who is phenomenal, really phenomenal. And I'm like, yep, shoot me an invoice. Like, oh, how do I do that? I'm not kidding. And
Yeah.
what I used to do, especially when I ran more of a promotional arts company where I'd book artists for like workshops, events, blah, 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 I actually had to save templates of invoices. I had a Word style and an Excel style template, and I'd send them a template and say, here's an example. And I feel like that needs to improve. But when it
Yeah.
comes to like preparation for what to expect in the audition room and the rejection and that, do you think that you were well equipped on that side of the fence?
Yeah. Yes, definitely well equipped on that side of the fence, I would say. But yeah, I do agree with in terms of the invoices and stuff like that. Like even like little things like tax-free threshold. Like I didn't even know that that was a thing until I started the Gatsby contract. Like someone was like, "Have you ticked it?" And I was like, "What?" So yeah, there's definitely like all of those aspects that we should definitely work on, because people just like brush past it and then you get to it and you're like, oh well, I'll just tick that, I'll just do this, I'll just do that, and then
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah. Oh my God, tax-free threshold. Yes, yes. Okay.
yeah, like
Gatsby, let's do it. Let's talk about it. Okay. You have had opportunities coming at you, I'm sure. Now, there would have been a lull period from when the filming finished. Like, tell me about that. You graduate. The show's not out yet. What happens in the gap between graduation and then the show release? And then what happens after the show is released when it comes to your professional career? Was there any traction? What's going on in your world?
yeah, so it was actually kind of cool to graduate and not have the TV show. Like me and Max would talk about that. It's kind of cool that the opportunities that we got last year were purely just based on us and our dancing. Like, so I found it. So last year I did like a couple bits and bobs. I had like a couple gigs that I did throughout the year with like film, dancing, etc. So I did quite a few little things there, and then after the show came out, I I got the contract of Gatsby in November. So I've kind of been doing Gatsby since then, and the shows come out in between that. So in terms of opportunities, I wouldn't really say many because we are in a contract. So it is hard to say whether we have had some and our agent said no or whether we just haven't had any. But in terms of exposure, there's definitely been a lot of exposure from the show, like positive exposure, people seeing who we are. And just in terms of the dance industry also, like, because the dance industry is so big, so it was good for like other people in the dance industry who aren't involved in Brendan Street to kind of find out who we are, which helped. But I guess we'll have to like for a couple of us, yeah, we'll have to find out like maybe like in a couple months, because it's only been 2 months since the show's come out, so it is still very recent. And like sometimes you wait up to 6 months for a job, so do you know what I mean? Like it is still rough,
totally.
but yeah,
and you're locked into something right now, and so you're not auditioning. So it's interesting because there may be a shift, even just off the back of Gatsby. I mean, being involved in that, also having that on your credits and whatnot, and also being a familiar face. So I think that's a really good combo, because now you've got a familiar face and you've just come off the back of professional contract. So I'm hoping for you, I'll be cheering you on. If I get my pom-poms ready, I have them on standby everywhere I go. There you go.
Love that.
I do. I have them on standby. That's what I do. So yeah, I think that is like a really good combo. But you got to put, from my experience, from like just talent management, whatever, and agenting, you know, it's pedal to the metal almost once you get out of this contract. Like, let's maximize this. Let's do what we can, you know.
Yeah.
Because things can fizzle, and we don't want that for you. So tell me about, you know, that whole experience. Do you feel like, you said you came out of your shell halfway through, right? Is that because it's just you were a bit nonchalant, you were just like cruising through the process when the filming was happening? Or do you think it's because the cameras were there and that was a bit intimidating, or you felt you weren't chosen, so you weren't stepping forward? What was it that gave you that shift midway through that filming process, do you think? Did you feel yourself in front of the like, does it change a little bit of how you present yourself
in front of the camera? Definitely. Well, I feel like when you're in front of the camera, regardless of, like, every person will agree, you still are thinking about every single thing you're saying. Like, although like I'll just word vomit and say the most random stuff, but then afterwards I'm like, wait, what did I just say? So you always have that constant thing of like it's like at the first term I was like pretty intimidated by it, but then once like because we got to know Jade and Luke, and they were so like, we were so comfortable with them, they were so loving and accepting of us, it kind of just like from there onwards, everyone, like, you see throughout the year, like, I guess you can't really tell, but further on the year, when you see people like Max's hair gets longer and like just little things like that, you can see people like start coming out of their shell. And I feel like after Light the Way, like I really like got into my groove, because I was offered by the 2 agents, and then I chose the one that I'm with now, Presley. And I kind of like had that little bit of confidence behind myself. Like I was like, maybe like I actually like can actually do this. So I feel like after that, then I kind of like came out and like really felt myself, because I like had like that little bit of validation. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, and that's and there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes a little bit of acknowledgement of what we do, and you know, that validation. I mean, we're all human, right? I mean, it's part of it. Tell me though, when it comes to that, you know, is that we talked about validation actually with Connor. You would know Connor from the show. Do you still keep in contact with these
Yes,
guys?
of course.
Yeah, cool. So we were talking about, you know, success and what that means to him, and part of that for him was that acknowledgement, validation, you know, of his skill and what he can do, and being known for what he can do, and I can appreciate that. I mean, but when it comes to success, it's so diverse in what it means to everyone else. So I would love to know what, you know, how do you define success in your life? What does success mean to Erin?
Hard question. I feel like it kind of changes every week, to be honest. Like sometimes I'm dreaming of this, sometimes I'm dreaming of that, but I feel like success with me would just be like really happy with what I'm doing. So like, because my goal right now is to be a performer, and then from there go into like film or something that still aligns with dancing. So say I'm doing like casting, directing, or something like that. So I feel like in terms of success, I would say performing for as long as I can, and being happy with what I'm doing. I don't want to be continually like doing something for a long time that I'm not happy with. So yeah, I would say success would more just be like happiness and like what's the word? I can't think of the word. But yeah,
Content.
just like content. Yeah. Yeah, just being really, yeah, content.
Yeah, I love it. Like, yeah, happy, content, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
And
yeah, just
sometimes
like
we do define ourselves by what we do, and it's not always what we do. I like that you've just mentioned something. It actually sparked a memory of, I can't remember if it was off your socials or something, but you have another side to you that's not just dance. And
yeah.
that is you have an interest in business or behind the scenes. Talk me
Yeah,
through
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so I'm currently studying at Macquarie University. So I'm doing a Bachelor of Commerce majoring in marketing. But I'm currently in the process of transitioning to marketing and media, majoring in like something to do with screen. But yeah, I feel like a lot of time in the industry, people just don't talk about what happens after you can't dance anymore. And there's so many different avenues that you can go to. Like people just think choreographing or
Mm.
teaching, but there's so many other ways that you can go, like directing, like so many different types of directing. So yeah, I wanted to do because also I loved school. Like when I was at school, like I studied really hard. Like I wanted to get a good ATAR and I did. And then I didn't want to just put it to waste also. So yeah, and also my sister, my older sister, she's also a professional dancer and she's studying law. So I like it just kind of like I was like I looked up to her and I was like I actually really want to do something similar also and not um just do dancing also because there are times like people don't talk about it that we do have a lot of spare time also, like some people maybe not, but like I do work and then I'm like when I get the opportunity like doing a gig I'll do that, but there is time to just like wind down I guess, and so like studying kind of keeps me busy. But yeah, so like my goal is potentially like the ideal goal would be like when I'm like a lot older and I'm not performing anymore to like be directing like or casting, being a casting director for like like for like a big film company like Marvel, or doing something like Disney, like something like that, like doing something that is still in line with the performing arts, but um something that I can have a long career for, because I don't just want to stop and then be like, oh well, what's next now? Like, do you know what I mean? I want to be able
Mm.
to have as long of a career as I can.
I think it's interesting that you're a plan B girl. So that's really interesting. And it's nothing wrong with that because plan B actually may be plan A. Like it's about your personality type and what you want. I mean, I think again, you're so honest, like, oh, there's a lot of downtime. And so a lot of people don't talk about that, and there is, if you're only pursuing your art, a lot of people end up, and nothing wrong with this, we all did it, like working in a cafe or something, or, waitering on tables, waiting for the big dream. I
Yeah.
think that that's okay, but the fact that you're looking at other avenues, because there is a reality in the industry, it doesn't mean you're not going to make it, right? But it
But
can
if
be
you're making it
limited.
also, like people think that like just dancing, that's the only make, like that's only the definition of making it. But someone like I look up to, like people like Mitchell Woodcock, like he's created his own company, New Ground Collective, and I'm like, he has made it times 1,000, and he may not be performing and being a professional dancer right now, but he's choreographing, directing so many artists, and that is also making it. So I feel like
Totally.
people need to like, not like people need to, but like
I love it. Get on
no,
that
no,
that grandstand. Let's do
no,
this,
but yeah, some
right?
people like I feel like just need to like open the avenue, because there's so many different opportunities and some people don't even look at it and they could be perfect for
Yeah.
something else, even like fashion and like costuming for like performers. Like there's so many different things people can do if they just don't limit themselves and their opportunities at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you 110%. I mean, I'm 41, which I'm good with, but when I was younger, when I was a youngin, and I was your age, I was pursuing my performance career and I worked, but there was a lot of downtime. Doesn't matter. It's the way it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I would waitress tables and do admin jobs. And I did that for probably a bit too long. And so by the time I was in my 30s, I was like, oh, like seriously, I'm too smart for this shit, right? No, really, that's how it felt. And so then that's when I dove into business and that's when I started my higher education. I started doing courses and things. And now I'm just like a learning junkie and I love it. And I've got, talent agency, studio business, and I've done all these amazing things, produced shows, written shows and sold them to market.
Wow.
And all of this stuff that I wouldn't have done if I kept in the mindset that making it was only if I was performing on stage.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I got to tell you, when you're like, I remember I stopped performing and I'm actually starting to, and this is the beauty of it, you can go back to it. Like I stopped performing when I was pregnant with my first child. I'll never forget it because I remember that gig so much. I was 4 months pregnant and I was on stage. I'm a singer as well, by the way. So I was on stage and I was like, man, I'm over this. I'm over this. I am tired. I am out in the middle of nowhere for not much money. And it's late and I have to drive over an hour to get home after midnight, pregnant, and I'm freaking over it. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. And that's when I hung up my microphone. I literally say, I hung up my microphone and I went into the world of business and I've not looked back since. And I just think I wish I'd done a little bit more of that earlier because, yeah, I think I would have saved myself a lot of pain and heartache, I tell you. And it's hard. Being an artist is hard. Yeah. It is. I can't even think of another word because it's just hard. And I know in this day and age, we all say, oh, but I can do hard things. Yeah, okay. But, but man, it's hard.
Yeah.
Okay, speak to me on that. Do you find, I mean, you're still young though, so you're just like loving life right now. But is there ever a day where you're like, this is hard?
Definitely, even like going to classes and like just training, it actually is hard when you think about it because there's actually so much that goes into it. Like sometimes even you have to finish work and quickly get changed, go home and go to a class and then you get home and it's late and then you wake up the next morning. So like there are times where it is really hard and also times where you just don't hear anything from your agent and then email and that's really hard.
Back to your agent.
And that's really hard too. So yeah, it is really difficult, but you've just got to push past that. And like I always just think about the bigger picture and I just like imagine myself on a stage performing and I'm like, it's so hard now. But I think when I'm at that point in my life where I'm just so proud of myself, I'll be going, look at what I've done and look how much I've gone past and how much I've achieved in that time. So yeah, you just got to kind of weigh the goods and the bads and then yeah.
With the time scheduling thing, because you're studying but you're also in the show, how does that work? Like how often are you required for Gatsby at the moment?
So yeah, Gatsby is Tuesday to Sunday, every night. So depending on the day, so like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have to be there at we don't have to, but I go around like 5:15, 5:30 to get makeup done, warm up everything, etc. And then Fridays and Saturdays is a double show, so we're there around like 3, or I'll leave the beaches at like 3:45. But yeah, uni I'm all day Friday, so like I'll go to Macquarie on all day Friday, and then I'll have like a Zoom on a Thursday afternoon, and then I just fit the lectures in my like in extra time. But yeah, like it's possible.
And there's assessments too, like because it's part of the thing, but then you got to do the actual work outside the classroom. That's a big commitment.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Gatsby, this is our last week of Gatsby, so hopefully when Gatsby finishes, I'll be able to like ease back into it. But it actually wasn't that difficult because even in the daytime, like you have your brain breaks, when you're studying, you have your study breaks. So Gatsby is kind of like that break, that release. So I get to go there, perform, come home and chill. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of balances out well. Yeah.
And it's easy as well because you're just a rock star and stuff like that. Tell me, before we wrap today, because I've absolutely loved this chat, but all good things must come to an end. I ask all of my guests this question, and I always love hearing the answers, but who or what inspires you?
Ooh. To be honest, I would say like one of my biggest inspirations is my sister. She went through Brent Street and now is like doing most commercial jobs in Sydney. She's working, doing so much dancing. She's also signed with a model agent now, doing TV commercials. She's doing everything. But then she's also studying as well. She wants to become like an entertainment lawyer. So yeah, I always look up to her because I'm like, she is exactly what I want to be, or not specifically like her, like, but like her, what she's done, and her like, she's so passionate and like strict with herself, and yeah, her achievements, like it's all through her. She's done everything for her, like she's just amazing.
Oh,
But
that is so beautiful.
so yeah.
That you speak about your sister in that way. That is so lovely. And I
No,
think
yeah, we still obviously, like, as sisters, have your little tips as you do. But yeah, in terms of like dancing, a lot, like I just think, like I look at her because she's also so young. She's only 22 and she's been doing so much work, and I'm like, that is actually exactly what I want to be, because she also knows like she wants to do like entertainment law, or like producing or something like that. And she has like, she wouldn't say it's a plan B, I'd say like it's her whole plan. And yeah, like it really inspires me to like not really like weigh out other options, like just bring it all together and then hope for the best in the future. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. What's next? What's next for Erin? What's on the cards?
Well, also Gatsby finishes this week, and then I'm just like continuing with auditions. Like I have like hopefully, and like because MJ the musical is coming to Australia, so I'm like manifesting that.
Manifest. I do love that. Yes, I'm
yeah,
all
like
about
I'm
the
like,
manifesting. Continue.
yeah, but then hopefully just like bits and bobs come. I guess like I'm just working with my agent. And then also like last year I filmed like a TV commercial for Yui. And did like a film also. So I'm also looking into doing like more acting workshops, and yeah, just kind of like dabbling into that industry as well, because I do love being behind a camera. And then yeah, I'm planning on potentially going to London for a month in September or October to also just train. Because yeah, I was born there, so it's pretty easy to just jump over there, yeah, and train, and I have family there, so it will be pretty easy to settle in. And then yeah, come back and the year will probably be over, and then I'll start again next year.
Does your family over there know about Dance Life? Have they seen it in the UK?
I don't know. I feel like they would have, because some of my cousins are dancers, and then the other ones that are there also are like models, so they're in like that type of industry also. So they've definitely heard, like they know what me and my sister are doing in terms of dancing, but I'm not actually sure if they've watched it. I should ask them.
They've got to share that.
Yeah, like yeah.
That'll get you free of com for a while.
Noted.
You gotta milk out that opportunity right there. Get the family on board. Okay. Okay, so how can people find you? Where's your best place on socials? Where can people search for you?
Yeah, so definitely Instagram. Instagram is like my main, well, it's like my main use, like it's my main social media that I use, main form of communication. So yeah, my Instagram page has my email, my phone number, but yeah, DM, and yeah, I just post. I'm trying to post more and be more active on socials with like what I'm doing to like boost my also like my digital CV. So yeah, you'll see me on there, and like yeah, I'm pretty easily to be contacted. Yeah.
Well, we will place a link in the show notes for everyone to find you, and we'll also place a link for everyone to follow Dance Life online. We have loved having you here on the show. Thank you so much. Let's all give a round of applause, virtual round of applause from home, for the lovely Erin Gaw. Woo!
Thank you so much for having me.
This episode was brought to you by my signature group coaching program, Studio Biz Success, an amazing and accessible online educational platform for performing arts studio owners designed to help you grow your business with confidence and get your results. Check it out at josephinelancuba.com, along with other great industry resources to help you leap into the studio biz you deserve. If you love this episode, be sure to share it with your friends. You can tag me on social media at Josephine Lancuba and give it a review. Your support helps the show to grow so I can continue to provide you with useful, informative content. I'm Josephine Lancuba, your biggest cheerleader. Thanks for listening, and shine bright.